Hi ladies, welcome back to the feminine universe. I'm always so happy to have you here. We know that in life, sometimes you only get one chance to make that first impression. And as highly feminine women, we want that impression to be impeccable. Unfortunately, it's quite common these days to come across beautiful, well-dressed people with what seems to be no manners at all. Because it's so rare to come across, great etiquette is just one more thing that will set you apart as the cream of the crop. It's a sad state of affairs when basic manners are exotic, but we can absolutely use this to our advantage. And as we all head back into the world and maybe begin socializing quite a bit more than we have in a while, I figured that now's as good a time as any to talk about and review our basic etiquette, because people are a little weird post-quarantine, fuses are a little bit shorter, and I just think a little extra kindness and extra manners can just go such a long way right now. Here in part 1, we'll be discussing the reasoning behind etiquette, brushing up on the basics, and addressing our presentation of ourselves. Then in part 2, we'll get into meeting, greeting, conversing, and dining. So let's get started. I think we have to begin with a quick reminder that the point of etiquette is not to be stuffy or exclusionary, even though some people use it that way. But look at it this way. Let's say your parents are from a country where people kiss on the cheek as a greeting, or where it's normal to comment on people's weight. If they're coming to the United States or any Westernish country for the most part, they might need a crash course in etiquette in order to understand that in those parts of the world, people most likely shake hands, and weight observations are generally considered impolite. That will keep them from making faux pas and keep them from unintentionally making other people uncomfortable. In some countries, it's considered incredibly rude to brag or be boastful, but in other countries, bravado is the norm and even considered attractive. In some places, eating with your hands is highly inappropriate, and in others, eating with the hands is customary and expected. In some cultures, this being loud and boisterous and speaking with your hands is considered expressive and passionate, but in other places, being loud and boisterous is considered rude and disruptive. Knowing the etiquette of certain countries, groups, and societies helps everyone involved get on the same page, so to speak. It decreases the possibility of unpleasantness, discomfort, embarrassment, and perceived disrespect. I always say, try to know what's expected of you and do your best to fit in everywhere decent, whether that's a chill family cookout, a swanky resort, or a dinner with your bosses or your boss's bosses. So I hope we're clear that the actual purpose of etiquette is just to create a base level of respect and expectations so everyone involved is on the same page and knows what to expect in social situations. Before we get into our presentation, we must always remember our most basic manners. I'm referring to please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Now I know this may sound like kindergarten stuff, but how many times have you been standing in line and you hear, "Can I get a vanilla latte?" or "Let me get a burrito bowl, extra guac," as opposed to, "Hi, I'd like a vanilla latte, please." I think we all know which one is more common. Even though we know a lot of these things, it just seems like in certain situations, it's just kind of easy to forget our manners and just blend into the masses. So as a refresher, if someone gives or hands us anything, pays us a compliment, or is just polite to us in some way, the correct response is thank you. Don't try to convince people why you don't deserve a compliment. And when you are the one being thanked, the correct answer is you're welcome or you're very welcome, not it was nothing or no problem. Lastly, remember to use excuse me. Have you ever had someone try to squeeze by you in a store only to be startled when they actually make physical contact, especially if you didn't see them behind you? If you're going to be invading someone's space in any way, say excuse me. Also, if you're interrupting people, whether that's in a conversation or they're alone reading a book or just thinking about their own life, say excuse me before you ask your question or make a statement. Like, excuse me, can I borrow Jim for a minute to go over this spreadsheet? Or, excuse me, do you have the time? Now that we've gotten a refresher on the basics, let's get into etiquette when it comes to our presentation. We've talked quite a bit about our appearance on this channel, so for all intents and purposes, I will assume we are already well dressed and put together. Because when it comes to etiquette, presentation is more about how we come off and being appropriate for the occasion. So let's first talk about how we appear and how we come off. For better or for worse, before we say a word, people are observing us and coming to conclusions, whether they are warranted or not. Based on our etiquette, people will make assumptions about our respectfulness, our class, and our upbringing. Like, remember when our moms always told us to sit up straight? They were right. When you walk into a room, your posture can either say confidence, power, and elegance, or please don't notice me. Your walk, is it graceful, or are you stomping around like a bull in a china shop? Are you making eye contact, or are you looking at the floor? Or are you glancing around like you're afraid or jumpy and making other people uncomfortable? Are you warm and giving a pleasant smile, or are you frowning and telling everyone to stay away from you? These bits of etiquette not only make you seem well-mannered and well-raised, but also work in your favor by conveying confidence, grace, and class. Another part about presentation is also looking appropriate for the occasion. Not just looking good, but looking appropriate. A classy pantsuit or a gorgeous ball gown are both beautiful pieces, but quite out of place at something like a summer barbecue. You get what I mean? I think we all know not to show up to an interview in sweatpants, but I've also seen a woman wear leggings as pants to a corporate office and be surprised for being reprimanded, so I know these mistakes still get made here and there. If you're attending an event of maybe more religious or maybe just more modest people, you'll want to dress accordingly. If you're heading to a formal event, also dress the part. I know some people are very concerned about seeming like they take themselves too seriously or prioritizing their comfort over the formality of the event. But here in New York, many people do enjoy dressing up and going to dinner and a show on Broadway. And while out and about, I have overheard many of those patrons express disappointment when others show up in jeans or sweatpants or hoodies. It just sort of cheapens the experience for everyone. So just be aware of where you're going and what's expected there. Etiquette in your presentation helps you not stick out like a sore thumb or look like you don't know what's going on or maybe like you don't belong. It shows that you respect the people and the environment you're in, and it shows that you respect yourself. That way, you're off to a great start before ever saying a word. So this first little part was just a refresher on the basics, understanding the purpose of etiquette, and highlighting how we can use our presentation to make a great impression before even saying a word. In part 2, we'll get into exactly what to do with our words when we are meeting people, greeting people, conversing, and dining. Hope this little refresher was helpful. Until next time, ladies, stay feminine, stay focused, and have fun.